जय गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यमुनातीरवनचारी। यमुनातीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह, प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की, इस्कॉन संस्थापकाचार्य जगतगुरु सेवर द होल वर्ल्ड श्रील प्रभुपाद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text number 17. Tasya karmani udarani parigitani suribihi bruhi naha shaddadananam leelaya dadataha kalaha तस्य कर्माणि उदारीणि परिगीतानि सुरिभिः ब्रूहि न श्रद्ददानानां लीलया ददतः कलाः। तस्य कर्माणि उदाराणि परिगीतानि सुरिभिः ब्रूहि न श्रद्ददानानां लीलया दत्ततः कलाः तस्य कर्माणि उदाराणि परिगीतानि सूरिभिः ब्रूहि न श्रद्ददानानां लीलया दत्ततः कलाः तस्य कर्माणि उदाराणि परिगीतानि सूरिभिः ब्रूहि न श्रद्ददानानां लीलया दत्ततः कलाः tasya his karmani transcendental acts udarani magnanimous parigitani broadcast suribihi by the great souls bruhi please speak naha unto us shraddhadananam ready to receive with respect Leelaya, pastimes, dadataha, advented, kalaha, incarnations. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead is never inactive, as some less intelligent persons suggest. His works are magnificent and magnanimous. His creations, both material and spiritual, are all wonderful and contain all variegatedness. They are described nicely by such liberated souls as Srila Narada, Vyasa, Valmiki, Devala, Asita, Madhva, Sri Chaitanya, Ramanuja, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka, Sridhara, Vishwanatha, Baladeva, Bhakti Vinoda, Siddhanta Saraswati, and many other learned and self-realized souls. These creations, both material and spiritual, are full of opulence, beauty, and knowledge. But the spiritual realm is more significant due to its being full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. The material creations are manifested for some time as perverted shadows of the spiritual kingdom and can be likened to cinemas. They attract people of less intelligent caliber who are attracted by false things. Such foolish men have no information of the reality, and they take it for granted that the false material manifestation is the all in all. But more intelligent men, guided by sages like Vyasa and Narada, know that the eternal kingdom of God is more delightful, larger, and eternally full of bliss and knowledge. Those who are not conversant with the activities of the Lord and His transcendental realm are sometimes favored by the Lord in His adventures as incarnations, wherein He displays the eternal bliss of His association in the transcendental realm. By such activities, He attracts the conditioned souls of the material world. Some of these conditioned souls are engaged in the false enjoyment of the material senses, and the others in simply negating their real life in the spiritual world. These less intelligent persons are known as karmis or fruitive workers, and jnanis or dry mental speculators. But above these two classes of men is the transcendentalist known as sattvata or the devotee, who is busy neither with rampant material activity nor with mental speculation. He is engaged in the positive service of the Lord, and thereby he derives the highest spiritual benefit unknown to the karmis and the jnanis. As the supreme controller of both the material and spiritual worlds, the Lord has different incarnations of unlimited categories. Incarnations like Brahma, Rudra, Manu, Prithu, and Vyasa are his material qualitative incarnations. But his incarnations like Rama, Narasimha, Varaha, and Vamana are his transcendental incarnations. Lord Sri Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations, and he is therefore the cause of all causes. Please repeat this translation. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakayat Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapreshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे तस्य कर्माणि उदाराणि परिगीतानि सूरिभिः ब्रूहि नः श्रद्धादानानां लीलया ददत्कलाः. So, the sages of Naimisharanya have assembled there to perform a 1,000-year sacrifice for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu and his devotees. And the sages are headed by Shaunaka Rishi, and they are putting forward questions to the speaker, Suta Goswami. Suta Goswami had already heard the Srimad Bhagavatam when Shukadev Goswami narrated it to Parikshit Maharaj. So now the Bhagavatam is being narrated for the second time. The sages asked 6 questions to the speaker, Suta Goswami. And one of the questions they have asked is this particular verse. Tasya karmani udarini parigitani suribihi bruhi naha shraddhadananam leelaya datatakalaha. His transcendental acts, the Supreme Lord, because previously in one of the verses the sages had put forward this question that, O Suta Goswami, you know why the son of Devaki, why the Supreme Lord accepted Devaki and Vasudeva as his father and mother. Why did he appear in the womb of Devaki? Please narrate to us. There was one of the 6 questions put forward by the sages of Naimisharanya was this. And now they are asking about Lord Krishna's transcendental activities. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. So this is the question that the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi, have put forward to Suta Goswami. And then the whole Bhagavatam is a reply to all these 6 questions. So one by one, the Suta Goswami will describe the different activities of the Lord. So, this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam is centered around the activities of the Lord. As Srila Prabhupada has explained to us many times, although Krishna is not visible to our naked eyes at the present moment, we have got a certain way by which we can contact Krishna, by which we can touch Krishna. And Prabhupada always used to say, we can touch Krishna by his name, form, qualities and activities. So these 4 things of the Lord, Nama, Rupa, Guna and Leela. The transcendental name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Prabhupada explains when we chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we are actually able to touch Krishna. And then Nama, Rupa, his transcendental form, the Lord has appeared as Archa Avatara, incarnation as deity form in the temple. So when we engage in the service of the deity, having darshan of the Lord in the temple, then also we are able to touch Krishna. So Nama, Rupa, Guna, his different, Guna and Leela, his different transcendental qualities, and his Leela, his activities, they are recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So by chanting the name of the Lord, by having darshan of the Lord in the temple, and by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, where his Guna and Leela, his qualities and activities are discussed, we are able to actually come in contact with Krishna. And by this, our consciousness gets gradually purified by the powerful influence of the name, form, qualities and activities of the Lord. So this verse of the Bhagavatam is centered around the activities of the Lord, the transcendental activities of the Lord. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna speaks to Arjuna, Krishna himself explains that his activities are all divine and transcendental. In the 4th chapter, Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam. My birth, my appearance and my activities are both divyam. Janma karma chame divyam. Evam yo veti tattvataha. And anybody who is able to know my birth and my activities, my appearance and my activities as transcendental, as divyam, such a person Tyaktva deham punarjanmana iti. After quitting his body, he doesn't accept another body, he comes back to me. So simply by knowing these two things, that the Lord's appearance and the Lord's activities are not to be equated and confused with the appearance and activities of ordinary people or even great devatas or rishis, and that his appearance and activities are completely divine and transcendental. If one has got complete conviction in this, then such a person does not take birth again in this world. Krishna says, Mameti, he comes back to me. So, in our culture, always a narration of the activities of the Supreme Lord, his pastimes, are part of Sanatana Dharma or part of Vedic culture. Even Prabhupada explains 100 years back, say 150, 200 years back also, in our country, in every village, the system used to be that the pastimes of the Lord, particularly from Ramayana, Mahabharata and Bhagavatam, would be discussed in the village in the evening. The people would finish off their daily activities, and the evening they would all assemble under a tree in that particular village, and there will be a Brahmana, Vaishnava, a Bhagavata, who will describe the activities of the Lord very nicely from the Ramayana, Bhagavatam and Mahabharata. And say by around 6 o'clock, 6:30, sunset time, people finish their evening activities and they finish their dinner. Up to 8:30, 9, 2 to 3 hours, they would hear the activities of the Lord, be absorbed in rapt attention, and they would go back home remembering Krishna and his wonderful activities, and they would sleep with all that wonderful consciousness. This was Vedic culture. For thousands of years, this was how the transcendental activities of the Lord have been propagated in this country. Even till about, say, 1800, this was the system. Till the Britishers came to our country, this was the system. Even at that time, say about 200 years ago also, in India, the intellectual class of people would always specialize in Sanskrit language. That would be the way the education system was, the Gurukula education system. The scholars would specialize in Sanskrit and also other Indian languages like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Hindi, both the languages, but primarily they would specialize in Sanskrit. And after mastering Sanskrit language, they would spend their whole life studying different scriptures, particularly Ramayana, Mahabharata and Bhagavatam. These three scriptures are very special because the Lord's activities are explained in very nice language in these three scriptures. And then they would spend their whole life studying such activities of the Lord, and they would discuss and describe the activities of the Lord for the benefit of everyone. So even the common man, even though he himself may not be a Sanskrit scholar, he may not be educated for that matter, simply by hearing from such learned authorities, he would absorb all the aspects of Vedic knowledge, and the consciousness of the people would always be very, very strong in Krishna consciousness because of meditating on the activities of the Lord. This used to be the system. Now, when the Britishers came to this country, initially they did not interfere much in the religious affairs of this country. They were primarily interested in doing business, and they let the Indians practice whatever form of religion they wanted to. But gradually they saw that these Indians, they are too much devotionally inclined. They have so much faith in their Vedic scriptures, and this kind of a strong spiritual and devotional inclination is a hindrance for us to rule, subjugate and sell our products in this country. So this was the perspective of the Britishers. Because if Indians have strong faith in Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, then they would not smoke, they would not drink, they would not even drink tea and coffee, and culturally they would be very conservative. Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. They would follow Ekadashi, they would follow Amavasya, they would do Tarpana, and their whole culture teaches them that, be happy in chanting the name of the Lord, going to the temple, hearing Ramayana and Mahabharatam. And do not worry too much about accumulating worldly goods. Because anyway, everything is temporary. One day we have to leave this body and go. And if you are fortunate enough to remember the Lord at the time of quitting this body, then we will not come back to this world. This every illiterate person in our country used to know. Not only the scholars. This was common throughout the country. So the Britishers saw this kind of a culture is not very good for us for selling our products. Indians have to become materialistic. They had to become consumerists. They should follow the path of consumerism. They should purchase more. So therefore, from that time onwards, the Britishers, they started a policy of criticizing and condemning everything that is Indian. And particularly, the Britishers wanted to break the faith of the Indians in their own Vedic scriptures. So for that, a lot of elaborate arrangements were made. And the British, they sent one person by name Thomas Babington Macaulay to survey the length and breadth of this country and give a report as to how we can subjugate this whole nation and destroy its culture. And based on the report, a decision was taken that somehow or the other we have to dismantle this Gurukula education system where Indians learn not only different aspects for by which they can contribute to the society, material skills, but they are also learning strong values from their scriptures. And particularly, Britishers were irritated with the deep faith that the Indians had in their scriptures, which teaches them about Papa, Punya, Punarjanma, which teaches them that the Lord is a real person, all these things. So, from that time onwards, a systematic effort was taken by which gradually this Gurukula education system was replaced with the current education system which we have now, is also known as the Macaulay education system. And gradually Indians stopped learning Sanskrit, and once a language is lost, and not too much interest was shown in learning the other Indian languages also. Initially, the Britishers were very favorable to allow Indians to learn in their own language. So at least there is some connection with our culture. But gradually, they wanted to westernize the Indians totally. So they made sure that the Indians learn only in English medium, and then there is a shift in their mentality. So this went on for a few years, and then in a span of about 100 years, the fresh batch of intellectuals who sprung up from such Macaulay education system were totally different from their forefathers, their grandfathers or previous them. They no longer had faith in their scriptures. They no longer had even properly studied their own scriptures. And for them, Rama, Krishna, Narasimha, they are all mythical personalities. And it is the British who introduced this word called mythology. And even today, this word mythology is the accepted terminology in the outside world for describing Ramayana, Mahabharata and Bhagavatam. Whereas Vyasadeva, the great Rishi, who is an incarnation of the Lord himself, he gave the Sanskrit word Itihasa and Purana. Itihasa means history and recent history, and Purana means very old history. So Vyasa, who is the compiler of the Bhagavatam, who is the compiler of, who composed the Mahabharata, who composed the Bhagavatam, and who compiled the Vedas, he never used this word mythology in any of his scriptures, any of his writings. But of course, in due course of time, with the influence of British propaganda, this had set in, and Indians had totally lost faith in their own scriptures. And it is at this time that three acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, which starts from Lord Krishna himself, and then there is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is Jiva Goswami, then there is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. All these different acharyas have done a lot of contribution in writing literatures based on Bhagavatam and different commentaries on the scriptures. Among them, three acharyas particularly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and our own Srila Prabhupada, started explaining this Krishna conscious philosophy in English language. This is the contribution done by these three acharyas. Up to that, prior to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, up to the time of Baladev Vidyabhushan, all the acharyas used to write in either Sanskrit or Bengali, or if there is any other Indian language. That is how they used to explain the different scriptures, and their commentaries all used to be in that language. And then with the English education, the education system shifting, Krishna also, by his causeless mercy, sent such acharyas, powerful acharyas, and it all began with the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And way back in 1874, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who could see at that time that in Bengal particularly, the intellectual class of people had become so degraded that they no longer accepted Krishna as a real person. And to counter this kind of a vicious propaganda by the Britishers, Bhaktivinoda Thakur started writing extensively in English, and particularly he explained the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in a very rational and scientific way by which people could appreciate the great philosophy and the deep insight that is contained in such scriptures. So this was the contribution by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a book called Lord Chaitanya, His Life and Precepts, back in 1896, and then sent it to one of the universities in America. And because of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's efforts, a lot of Indians, intellectuals particularly, started appreciating the value of Krishna consciousness, and most importantly, started accepting Krishna as a real person. Then after the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also wrote very strongly and very viciously countered this propaganda that the incarnations of the Lord, like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Parashurama, Vamana, they are all mythical creations, and the Hindus or the followers of Vedic culture, they are all barbarians. That is how the Westerners had projected this country as. People who worship a boar, Varaha, we know Varaha as a transcendental incarnation of the Lord. But for the Westerners, they cannot understand how these people, they are worshipping a wild boar in the temple. So what kind of barbaric people they should be? Or for that matter, Narasimha, we know that Lord's transcendental form of Narasimha is a half lion, half man. It's a transcendental form of the Lord. But for the Westerners, what kind of barbaric people these Indians must be? They are worshipping some kind of a half man, half lion creature in the temple. And Indians also started believing that yes, our old culture is actually barbaric and we must actually become westernized. So this was all very strongly countered by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Prabhupada, of course, we know how he took forward the whole Krishna conscious philosophy to the Western world, and by his extensive writing, he convinced hundreds and thousands of people across the world that Krishna is a transcendental real personality. So, in one of the conversations of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur with an American professor, the American professor particularly asks Saraswati Thakur whether the incarnations of the Lord like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, they are all imaginary, or is there any truth to them? Why are such, apparently in his language, he used the word creatures. Why are such creatures being glorified and worshipped in Vedic culture? So it's an interesting piece of conversation. We can read a little bit and get into the perspective given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and we can know from the Acharya what is the truth of the incarnations of the Lord. So, American professor, he asks this question. In the scriptures of India, adorable deities have been represented as creatures of the lower creation, like fish, tortoise, boar, etc. Is this approved by the sense of decency of civilized humanity? Some again are in favor of supporting such representations as allegorical symbols. This was another problem. Many Indians who were very familiar with their own culture, because Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha are all part of Indian culture, they would give another interpretation to such facts. On the one hand, they were unable to accept the Lord's transcendental form as Matsya, Kurma and Varaha. At the same time, they are unable to discard what is there in their culture. So they would say, these are all allegorical symbols. These are all some kind of fictitious representation for explaining some higher truth. That means our Vedas and Upanishads do have a strong sense of spiritual message, but the spiritual message is not very easily understood by the common people, because the philosophy of the Vedas is very complex and very difficult for the common people to understand. So in order to disseminate the philosophical message of the Vedas, the Puranas have been composed, and we have such nice adventurous stories in the form of fish, tortoise, Matsya and Kurma, so that the lofty message of the philosophical message of the Vedas and Upanishads can be easily understood by the common people. In other words, they were saying, actually there is no truth to all these things. There is no such personality like Matsya, Kurma or Varaha, but just for the common people to comprehend the message of the Vedas and Upanishads, our rishis have composed such messages. This was another interpretation given. So that is why this American professor is asking this question. Is there any truth to all these things? Also, is it true that they are representations of allegorical symbols? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur starts his reply by saying, imagination does not find a place in Vaishnava philosophy. In it or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the highest scripture for all men in the universe, has been described the topmost ontology about God, million times better than what the most civilized races of humanity 5,000 years ago, nay, as old as several million eras, can conceive of even in imagination. Of course, very lofty language. We can try to comprehend whatever we can. The eternal transcendental forms of God that descend are manifested according to the gradual evolution of the aptitude for offering service by the totally purified soul, quite aloof from the regions of the body and mind. When man becomes a worshipper of the ultimate reality at the loftiest stage of civilization, are never the idols of imagination or allegories like unreal things manufactured in the mental factory of man, or like the imaginary animal deities of the barbarians, such as the tiger god, serpent god, horse god, etc. The worship of the Vishnu incarnations like fish, turtle, etc. is not a fabrication of imagination like that of one of the 5 deities of the henotheists, formed out of imagination, based on a coinage of set of speeches like the imaginary conception of the forms of Brahman. The henotheists do not admit the transcendental personality of Godhead. The sects of figurative allegorists like the theosophists are not real theists, cherishing as they do doubt against the personality of God. For that reason, they want to curtail God's omnipotency and his transcendental name, appearance, attributes, sports, etc. by means of allegorical description. The Vaishnava philosophy, or that of the ever-existent religion of India, has never supported the atheistic doctrines of professors of imaginary forms of Brahman or figurative allegorists. It is about the doctrine of pure and real Avataravada that the philosophy of ever-existing Indian religion has said. As the pure and real doctrine of avatars of fish, turtle, etc. of the Vaishnavas is not a kind of imagination of the barbarian taste, nor the idolatry of the Mayavadis on the basis of their aphorism of Brahman, imagined for the convenience of practicants, nor the allegorical description of the psychists, so it is not anthropomorphism. So anthropomorphism is a terminology coined by many Western thinkers to the deity worship in India. They use 2 terminologies, anthropomorphism and zoomorphism. Anthropomorphism means worship of human beings as God, and zoomorphism is worship of animals of God, because that is how the Westerners misunderstood the Vedic culture. Because we should know, at that time, many British scholars and even German scholars had learned Sanskrit from many Indian Brahmanas. They had mastered Sanskrit language because they were very curious to know about the Indian civilization. But after having studied Sanskrit language, when they came across the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Ramayana and Mahabharata, they could not comprehend the facts mentioned in the scriptures. Because in the Shastras it is said that unless one becomes a qualified Brahmana, one cannot appreciate the message of the Vedas. One cannot actually know what our scriptures are stating. So these Western scholars, they made the mistake of merely becoming Sanskrit scholars, and they thought simply by mastering Sanskrit language, we would be able to understand the scriptures of India. And then when they actually read these scriptures, their intelligence could not comprehend things which are mentioned in the Shastras. For example, kings living for 50,000, 60,000 years. We know from our Shastra, formerly people used to live for 1 lakh years in Satya Yuga. Treta Yuga, they used to live for 10,000 years. These are all, things which Western scholars, Sanskrit scholars, they could not come to terms with. How is it that a person can live for 1 lakh years? So therefore, they brushed aside such things as mythology. And then personalities like Hanuman, Jambavan, Ravana having 10 heads, Narasimha, the transcendental incarnation of the Lord, Garuda, Jatayu, these are all things which actually they could not comprehend. And they fell into the trap of discarding such things as mythology. And Indians also, imitating the Westerners, accepted the same, which continues even today. Even today, there are many such intellectuals who accept it as such. But then, by the strong efforts of Acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, particularly Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada, today we have Vaishnava literature, the original Vaishnava literature like Srimad Bhagavatam, presented in very authentic English language by Srila Prabhupada, by which we are able to understand that Krishna is a transcendental real person and his activities are real, his transcendental form is real. In other words, if we read Srila Prabhupada's books, even if we do not understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness so fully, one thing becomes very clear to us, that 5,000 years ago, Krishna actually appeared on this earth planet. He actually killed Putana when he was 3 months old. He actually lifted Govardhana hill. He actually performed different divine activities. He actually killed Kamsa at a certain age. He actually built the city of Dwaraka. All these activities of the Lord are actually real. They are not mythology. This much Srila Prabhupada has conveyed very nicely into the hearts of everyone. And the result of such faithful reading of Srila Prabhupada's books is that one becomes a devotee of Krishna, which is what Krishna wanted in the Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma chame divyam. My activities and my appearance are all divine, they are all real. So, we are fortunate to come in touch with the books of Srila Prabhupada, which alone in the modern society, which is filled with voidism and impersonalism. As we chant in our Prabhupada Pranam Mantra, Nirvishesha and Shunyavadi. The world is full of Shunyavadis who think that after death there is nothing, so everything is void. Or Nirvishesha, if at all there is a God, he is Nirvishesha, he has no Vishesha, he has no qualities. So the Lord, his pastimes, his activities, they are all mythical, they are all allegorical, they have some higher message to be conveyed. So you don't actually have to place your faith that Krishna is a real person and his activities are real. This is the kind of spiritualism that is going on in our country. And big spiritual institutions with very intelligent spiritual leaders are all subscribing to this view, which is not the view of Vyasadeva, the original composer of the Vedic scriptures. So Srila Prabhupada's books are perfectly in line with the conclusion of Vyasa. Vyasa accepted Krishna as real. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. In the very first verse of the Bhagavatam, he says Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And he concludes that verse by saying, Satyam Param Dhimahi. I accept the Supreme Lord Vasudeva as Satya. So Vyasadeva accepts the Lord as Satya, as truth. And Srila Prabhupada's books also, following perfectly in line with the conclusion of Vyasa, explains Krishna as a real person, transcendental person. His transcendental activities are all real. We may not be able to comprehend them with our limited intellect, but by engaging in devotional service to Krishna, particularly by chanting his name and accepting the remnants of food offered to Krishna as prasadam, we will be able to comprehend the transcendental activities of the Lord. So this is the great contribution done by these three acharyas of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and practically they have saved Sanatana Dharma from total degradation. So we should be so much thankful and grateful to Srila Prabhupada and the other acharyas who have given us this transcendental knowledge by which we are able to know Krishna in his completeness and Krishna as reality. So with these few words, we will end today's Bhagavatam class. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.